I look at competitions like this, and it is an amazing venue to flex that creative muscle and help drive that out-of-the-box thinking.
And never underestimate the power each of you has, the power to make shifts towards business models that don't need to violate human rights to create profit.
Really proud at CPA Canada to support the international case competition.
I think this competition is a very practical exercise to actually get them engaged in real world problems.
We think that it's going to take some of the largest and most sophisticated investors in the world to help drive some of the answers to these issues that we're all looking at.
I am delighted to announce that the winners of the A4S International Case Competition 2024 is Mining for the Solution.
We're feeling pretty good. Obviously it was quite a close race.
Be awarded the People's Choice Award has also been a really nice recognition.
We have learned so much, how to present, how to create presentations, so much about sustainability and how it is the need of the hour. So there's endless learnings that we have, but it's going to go a long way, I'm pretty sure, for all the participants, all the finalists.
I'd love you to come and join the A4S International Case Competition to put your creative ideas forward to help us solve some of the world's most difficult challenges.
Hello, I'm Helen Slinger, Executive Director at A4S, where I lead all of our work in the knowledge and learning space. I just want to have a very warm welcome to all of you joining us today, those of you who are joining us live, and also those of you who are joining us on demand. And of course, a special warm welcome to our speakers today, Patrick and Jaiden. I also want to thank the A4S International Case Competition team for everything that they do for making the whole competition a success. And it's to them that I'll hand over to now to take you through the rest of this session.
Great, thank you, Helen, and very warm welcome from me. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Olga Yadinskaya. I'm an education manager at A4S, and I'm really excited to share the details about 2025 International Case Competition with you today. And we hope you've already been inspired by watching the moments from our last competition finals in Toronto. So today I'm going to take you through the following. So first and foremost, I'm going to briefly talk about who we are, who is A4S, and of course, International Case Competition. Then we're going to have our first special guest, Jaiden Vitalis, a past winner from 2024, Team Mining for the Solution, which we saw in the video. Then I'm going to talk briefly about case focus for 2025. Then we're going to have our next special guest, Patrick Taylor, Managing Director at Brookfield Asset Management. Then I'm going to talk about competition timeline and stages, and we're going to finish off with Q&A. So please use the Q&A section to post your questions. Great. So who is A4S? Who we are? So Accounting for Sustainability was established by His Majesty King Charles III in 2004 to make sustainable business as usual. And we are part of a King Charles III charitable fund group of charities. And we work for global finance and accounting community to inspire finance leaders to adopt sustainable and resilient business models, transform financial decision-making to respond to opportunities and risks posed by the climate crisis and other environment and social issues, and scale up action to transition to a sustainable economy. We also work with universities and business schools to embed sustainability into their programs. We collaborate on practical and transformative learning experiences for students, such as this one, such as case competition, to refine their skills and sustainability knowledge to the workplace. So secondly, and most importantly, what is A4S International Case Competition? So it's an extraordinary opportunity for students across the globe to cultivate critical skills for sustainable business development and connect with industry leaders and win up to 10,000 Canadian dollars. So with different focus every year, the competition attracts diverse business and accounting students. And this last year, we're delighted to receive entries as far-reaching places as Mexico, Norway, Philippines, Nigeria, United Arab Emirates, a truly international competition which you can be a part of. So why do you get to involved? What are the benefits? Competition offers to you not just incredible learning experience, but the unique opportunity to travel to Toronto, Canada for the face-to-face finals and experience the thrill of presenting on the international stage. And we're really pleased to announce that the finals will take place at Schulich School of Business, York University in Toronto. Also, of course, a great opportunity for you to win a cash prize, as I mentioned earlier, 10,000 Canadian dollars for the winning team and 5,000 Canadian dollars for runner-up. Also, you will be able to access internships linked to the competition which offer real-world experience in diverse and vibrant markets. And more on this shortly, I'm going to talk to you about. Also, it's a great opportunity for you to connect and receive feedback from leading industry leaders, engage with them directly, and it's a great opportunity for you to network, and potentially it will open doors for you to mentorship, partnerships, and future career opportunities. Also, it's a great opportunity for you to showcase your work for People's Choice Award. All the finalist videos will enter into the running, putting your creativity into the spotlight for public recognition. So as I mentioned earlier, we are really excited that this year we'll be offering internship opportunities for the competition semifinalists. Our internship partners, All Food Ingredients and Ontario Teachers Pensions Plan, are providing opportunities in Latin America, North America, Singapore, and Africa. So it's a great opportunity, internships, a great opportunity for you to get structured hands-on experience, offering business exposure, networking, and new perspectives. You'll work on high-impact sustainability projects or join key teams like sustainable investing, strategy, or finance. This is a chance for you to make a real difference while gaining essential skills for a successful future career. All business and accounting students eligible to enter for us international case competition are also eligible to apply for the internships, of course, subject to right to work in a relevant location. Candidate shortlist will be selected from internship applicants whose teams also reaches the semi-finals of the competition. Please remember, you will be able to submit your internship application form through a website alongside your team's entry to the competition. So you need to submit a single competition entry form for your team, but a separate internship application form for each person in the team who would like to apply for the internship. Great. So for all those great benefits in mind, we're thrilled to have Jaiden Vitalis to share her first-hand recent experience of winning the competition and being on the winning team for 2024. So very warm welcome, Jaiden. We have a question.
Thank you.
Great. So shall we start as all interviews will start with, if you can briefly introduce yourself and tell us about your journey from entering the competition and winning the competition.
Yeah, for sure. So as you mentioned, my name is Jaiden. I'm currently in my third year in the Sustainability and Financial Management program at University of Waterloo, which is in Ontario, Canada, for those of you who may not know. I'm also currently completing my third work term with Deloitte Sustainability and Risk Advisory team, which I'm really enjoying. It's a great opportunity to work in the sustainability space. I first discovered this case competition through my university, and it really perfectly lined up with what I'm studying. So I knew immediately that I wanted to compete in it. So as I think we mentioned, our topic last year was human rights. And similar to this year, the goal was to identify a company and a problem and then pitch a financially viable solution to it. And I think what really drew me into this competition and what made it stand out from other case competitions that I've competed in the past is just how open-ended the problem and the solution was. So there's just so much potential for applicants to be creative and really find the business and the area that kind of that interests them and that they feel they can have the most impact in. And so that's what I found just so fascinating about A4S. And it was a bit of a process to get from the moment when my team first decided to compete to standing on stage in finals for Toronto. But it was so worth it. And we had amazing mentors provided by A4S along the way that just made the process so much fun. And then I guess just touching on the finals in Toronto, that was also just an amazing experience. Over the 2 days, we got to meet teams from all over the world, as well as industry professionals. And so everything from the initial networking to our final presentations was just a great experience.
Great, thank you. And who's keeping the award? Where is it now?
I think our professor has it at school, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh. You're not rotating.
Yeah, we decided that would be better than rock, paper, scissors.
Cool, cool. Great, thank you. So next question will be around, so how participating in the competition impacted your studies and career prospects?
So when I was competing in the finals, I was actually in my second work term for Deloitte. And I think the thing that stood out for me the most was how cool it was to see everything that I was studying and working and see that connection to what we did in the competition. So for example, we looked a bit at Bill S211, which had just come out in Canada and focuses on forced labor in the supply chain. And I was looking at that for work. We had mentioned that in school in my studies. And then we were also taking a look at that in our pitch in our actual presentation for A4S. And so it was just really fun to see kind of all the pieces coming together and understanding that connection between what we learned in the classroom to actually seeing that real world application. And again, it was amazing to get to meet the industry professionals. I think one of my teammates actually met someone he was going to be working with in the co-op in next semester, which was super fun. And I know you mentioned you're also introducing internships this year. So I think that just adds an extra layer to the experience. So in addition to building your professional network, you also get the chance to meet those potential employers.
Great, thanks. Great, so the next question is around challenges. So what were your biggest challenges faced during the competition and how did you overcome them?
I think there were kind of two main challenges that stood out over the course of the competition. Ironically, I think our first one was just narrowing down our problem and solution because we had so many different directions that we wanted to go in, and we all had so many different ideas that when we were brainstorming, I think we wrote it all down on a doc, and it was like pages long. We just had so many different ideas. So the process to just kind of narrow it down and pinpoint that exact industry, that exact company, and then that exact solution that we wanted to pitch definitely took a bit of negotiating and a lot of discussion. But we were able to do it in the end. And then I think our second challenge was more related to the presentation side of things. We found that our team, we all had this really clear solution in our heads. And then when we first started pitching it to our mentors to get that feedback, we really struggled to articulate exactly what we saw in our minds and to put it out like on paper. And so it definitely took a lot of coaching from our amazing mentors to be able to like really clearly communicate, especially in that time limit, the whole solution that we had envisioned.
Great. And of course, so based on all of your experience, what advice would you give the students preparing for their first case competition? Kind of any top tips on developing the proposal and presentation?
I think the first one, just going back to, again, that challenge that we had, just be really purposeful in the wording and the phrasing of your pitch, especially since you have, I believe, 5 minutes in the first round and then 10 minutes in finals. You want to make sure that all of your phrasing is really intentional and really gets that point across. And that's when your mentors come in. Definitely take advantage of any opportunities you have for feedback, whether it's from mentors provided by A4S or even just we spent a lot of time pitching to other students or peers in our program and just getting their advice. So definitely take advantage of any chance you have to get feedback from other people.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Jaiden. So
Yeah,
that was really insightful. Yeah, so please stay with us. And thanks for sharing your learnings and experience. And I remind to all of you to post your questions for our guests in the Q&A section. Great, so let's move on onto this year's case challenge. So this year, we're inviting you to work together as action-oriented problem solvers to focus your business skills on corporate decarbonization within the broader context of fair and just climate transition. So as a team, you will have to select one of the world's 2,000 most influential companies from World Benchmarking Alliance SDG 2000 list. This list shows 2,000 most influential companies globally who can help or hinder achieving sustainable development goals. And we appreciate it's a really long list of companies. So we suggest narrowing it down by selecting companies which are potentially near your location, or companies you know well, or sector you're interested in, or companies you hope to work with one day. We also invite you to consider choosing from the companies supporting our competition, A4S competition, such as OFI, Brookfield, OTPP, SAP, or Schroders. And keep an eye on our website as more companies may join as corporate supporters in the coming months. And you can find the list of SDG 2000 companies in the chat. And we also encourage teams to submit their selection of a company early. So this will allow us to approach the selection of companies, inviting them to support the competition. And you can do that through the registration form. So once you have selected the company, we invite you to examine its current approach to decarbonization. So look into commitments, targets, and methods the company employs to reach them. Then identify one or more significant challenging areas for the decarbonization and propose a solution or solutions that help address the selected areas. So it's an opportunity for you to develop creative and impactful solution to address the identified challenges. Please ensure as a part of a solution that affected stakeholders are treated in a fair and just manner. And finally, prepare a presentation for the CFO, setting out the business case for proposed solutions. So we have created a great comprehensive detailed guide, which gives really good information on the case focus and all of the supporting guidance to submit your entry. Please do refer to it. You can find it in the chat on our website. Great, so now I'll hand over to my colleague Phil, who will lead our next session and interview our guest, Patrick Taylor.
Thank you, Olga. Hello, everyone. It's great to see so many of you are able to join us today. My name is Phil G, and I'm the lead of the CFO program in Canada. I'd like to introduce you to Patrick. Patrick, welcome. Thank you for your time today and joining us.
Thanks, Phil.
Firstly, can I just ask you to introduce yourself to everyone?
Sounds good. Well, welcome everybody, and thanks for your time and interest in the competition today. So I'm Patrick Taylor. I'm the Deputy CFO for Brookfield Asset Management. It's a business today that manages over $1 trillion on a global basis and specializes with a focus in transition investing, infrastructure investing, and more recently, private credit. In my time at Brookfield, I've had various roles across the 15 years that I've been in the business. Really started off as in a sort of traditional financial reporting role within our listed infrastructure vehicle. That evolved into various roles within our private funds business in infrastructure as well as in transition. And then more recently have begun a role focused on all things Brookfield Asset Management from a public company perspective. Before that, I started my career at KPMG in the audit practice.
Perfect. Thank you, Patrick. So just to start off, Brookfield's been involved in the competition as sponsors and judges since its inception in 2018. You're demonstrating a clear commitment to its success over the years. Can you just share with us what motivates your continued participation and sort of what aspects of the competition resonate with you and sort of align with your company's goals?
Absolutely. I think we think of it as sort of there's two things. The obvious one is, it's very much aligned with our overall goals as a business to be net zero by 2050 as our own business. But I actually think even more importantly, we think that the skills that this competition tests are very aligned with sort of how we focus from a culture perspective ourselves today. we really focus on having a company that's focused on collaboration, entrepreneurialism, creativity, team players. And in my involvement in the competition, which has been the last couple of years as a judge, and prior to that, a mentor and semifinals judge, we've been just incredibly impressed with the students that we've met, the passion that they have for the topic at hand, just how polished the presentations are, and how creative people are as well. So we see a lot of what we see in the competition. We see a lot of that in ourselves, we think, and obviously it's it's a goal and a value that we share from a net zero perspective as well. So really, it's all of the above that keeps us heavily involved in the competition, and very keen to continue that going forward as well.
Perfect, thank you. And just to sort of follow on that from that point, sustainability is clearly important to today's business environment.
Yeah.
So why is it also important to business and accounting students to incorporate sustainability into their studies?
Yeah, it's something that, as a finance leader, I would say has evolved a lot, particularly in the last 10 to 15 years. I would say that we're very encouraged by what we're seeing at, some of the universities in terms of incorporating sustainability finance and broader sustainability topics within the curriculums in their various programs, whereas traditionally you might have a topic that was ESG that was probably fairly generic, maybe a subset of one course, if you will, in certain Bachelor of Commerce or finance or what have you, undergrads or master's programs. And now to see the evolution of what we're seeing in the curriculum, it's definitely very encouraging. And for me, we see that as so imperative to people coming into the workforce today, that you have to be able to, as a finance professional, to be well-rounded. We think it's something that's incredibly important for people coming into the workforce. And that's really changed in the last 10 to 15 years. And when we are speaking with our incoming students, we very much focus them on having a well-rounded view of sort of the definition of stakeholder. More traditionally, that was your very, very specific finance stakeholder, your shareholder, your board of directors, your customers, et cetera. And that definition is very much broadening, and it demands of finance professionals and others entering the workforce a much broader perspective. And so that's why we think it's so important in today's environment to be able to have experiences like the one this competition offers, and for people to have even more formal education on sustainable finance. So that the nature of the things like what Jaiden is talking about in terms of the programs that she's in, these programs didn't exist 5 years ago. And so we're seeing it as a very welcome shift, and this competition is very complementary towards that path that we're encouragingly going on in the space.
Thank you. And just shifting towards sort of some insights into the decarbonisation challenges faced by Brookfield, what are you sort of seeing, and how do you think your finance team is helping to play a role in solving them? And sort of where does that fairness sort of tie back to that for the stakeholders you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, it's definitely a very evolving space. If we were talking about investing in transition investing, 5 to 10 years ago, the way that we observe not only ourselves, but also the largest, most sophisticated institutions in the world that are allocating capital towards supporting net zero outcomes, it's night and day. 5, 10 years ago, that really people were focused on, it's a very binary investment type of decision. It's things we won't invest in, sectors that we've decided are heavy emitters and therefore will get no capital. Or things that we very much want to put all our capital into, which are your more traditional, renewable power type of investments, as an example. And we're seeing a very big evolution in this space where I think there's a broader recognition of the market in terms of the need to allocate capital towards potentially where the emissions are. So you almost have to go to where the emissions are to help actually transition them, rather than we're going to not provide capital to heavy emitters and provide all of our capital to those that don't emit anything. So I think a broader recognition in the capital markets in particular about needing to go where the emissions are to help them transition and provide those types of net zero outcomes that we all want is a very big evolution in the space. And I think it's a broader issue that we also see within Brookfield itself, because as we go along and that type of thinking evolves, the amount of capital going towards these type of solutions continues to increase over time. And so our biggest focus at our business is continuing to crowd in private capital in and around those types of investment themes that we all think about and talk about. And that's our biggest challenge, is how do you get more and more capital focused in the areas of need? The way we've done that traditionally is by raising private funds focused in transition. We're now more recently raising funds focused in geographic areas in transition as well. And we think that we're very much in the early stages of this phenomena. And the more that we can attract private capital alongside public capital towards transition types of investments, and we evolve our thinking around what transition investments are, the better. But we're definitely on a path towards both of those areas expanding and broadening.
Perfect. Thank you, Patrick. And just switching back to the case study itself, what do you think the case study offers in terms of learning and developing skills relevant for the workplace?
Yeah, I would just focus on a couple of things. I think the case itself, but also even the broader competition, one of the things we love about it is it is very, very useful for people as they're starting to think about, next steps in their career after school, etc. It really, what impresses upon me is it really focuses on collaboration, really, really working within that team to provide a solution all of you can get behind and be passionate about and communicate in a clear, concise way. I would say it also provides an extensive amount of sort of presentation practice as well, with people in the real workforce that are asking you real questions that we're trying to answer every day. And so there's a lot of real world type of experience that people can get from this with their teams. And I think it also forces people to be challenged in terms of how creative they can be in terms of a solution that is actually realistic. While they're obviously, Olga would have walked through, some of the makeup of the competition and what we're looking for in terms of a response, there is a lot of open space for you to be very creative in terms of the types of solutions you're presenting, the companies you're focused on. There's a lot there for you to be creative on as well. And so I think it's really all of those areas that the case itself this year, but the competition every year really provides to students, and it's a very valuable experience that goes beyond the classroom.
Perfect. And as you sort of just mentioned, obviously what you're looking for as a finals judge yourself, you sort of touched on a couple of those points around what you're looking for, but would you be able to offer any other sort of final tips and advice and for the students in their entries?
Yeah, I've been a finals judge the past 2 years. Before that, I was a semifinals judge for a year. And I've been asked this several times, and I kind of come back to a couple things. I would say one is, particularly on the day, you want to make it that it's very obvious you're very enthusiastic about the idea, that it's the team idea. It's not an individual idea, and 2 or 3 others are happening to present one person's idea. You want to make it feel like we're very enthusiastic about the idea, and it is a team effort, not an individual effort. That's incredibly important, and you really feel that on the day and in the videos as well. I would say you want to balance creativity of the idea and it being unique, but at the same time realistic, and finding that right balance. We obviously see many ideas that are incredibly creative, but then are challenged on whether or not that's actually something that could be put in practice, and then obviously vice versa as well. Finding that balance. And then I would say, lastly, sometimes the simplest ideas are the best. And you want to focus on things that, if you can explain it in your elevator pitch, your 10 to 15 to 20 seconds, you can explain it simply, then it maybe isn't going to be an effective idea that you're on the day. So I'd really kind of focus people on those areas in terms of my advice on how best to sort of approach the competition on the day.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Patrick, for all your insights and sort of guidance for those thinking of taking part. And I will now hand you back over to Olga.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you both, Patrick and Phil. That was really insightful. And I remind you to post questions for our guests and A4S team, so myself and Helen, in the Q&A section. And I see some coming through, which is great. So please do keep them coming. Great. So now on to the competition timeline. So here are some key dates to be mindful of. I want you to remember to remind you again that all of this information is found in our detailed entry guide, which we shared earlier in the chat, and it's on our website. So don't worry if you don't remember everything, but please keep in mind the very important date. So the entry window will open on Monday, 11th of November and close on Sunday, 19th of January, 2025. The same window will apply for the internships as well. Please remember one form needed per team to enter the competition. And if you're interested in applying for internship, you must submit an individual form for each student applying. So virtual semifinals will take place the week commencing Monday, 24th of February, over 4 days. And finalists will be announced via online networking event on the 4th of March. So the in-person networking and finals will take place on Thursday and Friday, 3rd and 4th of April, 2025 at one of our anchor business schools, Schulich School of Business, York University in Toronto. And all semi-finalist teams will be offered a mentor to guide them as they prepare to the semi-finals and intern finals. As you could hear from Jaiden, it was really valuable. So watch out for this. Great. So all the entries must be submitted as a team of up to 5 people. This can include students from different courses or different institutions. We accept both graduate and undergraduate students. So I've seen a question coming from Helena, so we're going to touch on it. So if you're looking to build your own team and connect with like-minded students, we really encourage you to join our LinkedIn group. You can find a link in the chat, and we're going to follow up as well in the email. So it's a great opportunity for you to connect with other students, form a team, as it's a requirement for you to have 3 to 5 people within a team to be eligible to apply to enter for the competition. And we already have around 40 members in the team in the group, so please do join. And hopefully you can get your team to enter. So as mentioned, your submission is due on Sunday, 19th of January 2025 at 11:59 p.m. EST, and it will need to contain the following. So first and foremost, executive summary, which is a one-pager, which will provide judges, aka CFOs, with the key points of your proposal, stripping out all necessary details and presenting your work succinctly and clearly. You can also use not only text, but you can use images, diagrams, styles, or similar. The second thing we ask you to submit is 5-minute video pitch. So it's a chance for you to show your personality while convincing a corporate CFO of your solution's strength. And remember, you are presenting a pitch to corporate CFO, so they would expect professionalism and respect when you're explaining your analysis and showing your understanding of their challenges. Semi-finalist videos will be published on our A4S YouTube channel, and finalist videos will enter People's Choice Awards. And we encourage you to view and vote for your favorite one by liking the videos. Please note, very important thing we want you to remember, as your video may feature publicly, you're not permitted to mention a company's name or logo in your pitch, either on screen or in your audio. And finally, I'll ask you to submit the third component, which is cost and benefit analysis. It's a critical part of your entry, and it should include the evaluation, weighting up financial consideration, alongside broader impacts on people and environment to help CFO to make an informed decision. And the judging criteria can be found in the competition entry guide on the competition website or via the link which we shared with you earlier. So semifinals will require teams to present the following. So teams will pitch their business solution or solutions to judges in online format. And teams are encouraged to refine their original proposals as appropriate, benefiting from the feedback from which will be provided by our team, so A4S, ICC team, and assessors, and from the tips and guidance from the assigned mentors. So the pitch will be followed by a Q&A session, and you'll be able to, as a team, engage in direct conversation with judges and provide more context and depth on the business solution. The finals will follow a similar structure to semifinals, 10-minute presentation followed by 15-minute Q&A session. However, this will happen live on stage in Toronto. And the finals will also have finalists, will have a great opportunity as well to further engage and show their business skills through on the challenge, and the details will be released to the relevant teams in due course. So I want to finish off with a few key things to remember. So plan well ahead and note that the deadline is early in the year. So plan around your exams, key assignment deadlines, your holidays, and decide when you're going to work as a team, when you're not going to work as a team. As I mentioned earlier, please try to choose a company early and notify us, so it will help us approach the companies and ask them to support the competition. So you can do that via registration link. It's on our website or in the chat. Also agree how you're going to work together, how long you're going to discuss ideas, how you're going to split the research, when will you start solutioning, when will you write executive summary, and who gonna film the video, edit the video, and try to group tasks into various work streams and agree who does what. Once again, emphasizing our entry guide, our great entry guide, which has all the relevant information which I'm talking to you now, and in much more detail, further guidance on how to develop your proposal and other helpful tips available in that guide. Please do refer to it. Again, it's on our website and in the chat. Also, we strongly encourage you to review our proposed references and resources, which will help you build your business case. Again, this can be found in the competition entry guide. And finally, get creative with your video. You may wish to consider using stock imagery and to bring the solution to life. Rather than just narrating over presentation, the video is an opportunity for you to create a story. Ensure you're making the most out of the medium and truly visualize your ideas. Your entry will benefit from familiarizing yourself with the content early in the development phase. Please, we encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and view previous entrance videos to help with development of yours. But please note, of course, that every year challenge is different. So, but it's a great just opportunity for you to look at from previous entrants. So again, you can find a link in the chat. Great. So now we'll take this time to open the floor to the Q&A session, which will be moderated by my colleague Phil. So once again, please do ask questions in the Q&A section. The questions can be addressed to myself, Helen, Patrick, Jaiden. Yes, on to you, Phil.
Thank you, Olga. So yes, we'll just spend the next few minutes just going through some questions you've raised in the Q&A chat. Jaiden, the first question is for you. Did someone wanted to know how your group was composed in terms of sort of disciplines and backgrounds, and sort of what skills do you think helped your team, and what would you recommend?
So for us last year, our entire group was composed of second and third year sustainability and financial management students. So we were all from the same program, which was nice because we kind of had that working relationship. But I think a great thing about this competition is that it's not super strict in terms of what program you need in order to compete, as long as you have, as long as I would say at least part of your team has some level of financial background, so that you can present to the excuse me, my totally just mind blanked there. So as long as you can do the appropriate presentation and make sure you can put those financials together, I would say it's pretty open-ended in terms of what program you can come from, especially since we're looking at decarbonization this year. Financial programs, business programs, even science programs, I would say it's all totally fair game if you're interested in the competition.
Perfect. Thanks, Jaiden. Question came in for Patrick, and I might just edit this a little bit in terms of sort of tying it back to the competition. Sort of within sort of decarbonisation and sort of capital moving into it, is there potentially an opportunity for looking at developing areas or looking at more sophisticated economies around that sort of decarbonisation direction?
Yeah, no, in investing in transition, it's taken really the form, similar to other areas of investment, which investment is disproportionately going towards the more developed economies today. And that really sort of speaks not to necessarily the nature of the issue being disproportionately in those economies, but more the sophistication of the capital markets to sort of understand really the fact that to actually transition, you need to kind of go where the emissions are. So it really has to do more with the fact that it's the same issue, whether it's a developed economy or not a developed economy. But the capital markets and the appreciation of transition is far more sophisticated at this point in time. And having said that, we are seeing a significant amount of demand from investors in those areas looking to deploy capital because there's such a need in economies that are not developed. And I think it kind of, just to bring it back to the competition, I would say that in the end of the day, this is why the need for sustainable finance education on a global basis is so great. Because the way that we're going to get the significant amount of capital put towards transition outcomes is going to be a broader appreciation around all things sustainability in the finance community and the capital markets community more generally. So I see it as a natural evolution there as well. And as the capital markets more appreciate transition and how to think of it from a capital allocation perspective, I would expect that to be, to the benefit of economies outside of the developed economies. And I think this competition is another great way to continue to push that along and in terms of a point of emphasis on sustainable finance education.
Perfect. Thank you, Patrick. And Olga, we have a couple of questions come in. I think we can sort of group those together, but is there a team size limit and is also an age limit for the entrants?
On mute. Yes, thank you very much for the question. So in terms of number of members, so it's 3 to 5 people, no less, no more. And in terms of age limit, there is no age limit as long as you are studying. All the team members are studying at the time of entry and entry to the competition and the finals. Again, you can be from different institutions, but as long as you are studying, graduate or undergraduate students, all welcome. And the team needs to be 3 to 5 people.
Perfect. And Olga, another quick one for you. I think you might have mentioned this earlier, but just to recap for others, is the final presentation online?
The final presentation, yes. Sorry. The final is in Toronto. Sorry. No, it's going to be live on stage. However, if in case something happens, you cannot get visa, there's, I don't know, emergency happens, the plane didn't come, then yes, you will be able to present online. But of course, we'll encourage you to do your best to reach Toronto and present on the stage.
Perfect. And Jaiden, so a quick question for you as well. Looking back on last year, what was your favorite part of the entire experience?
I think my favorite part was getting to present on the stage because we did the first 2 rounds of submissions was done online. So we had that video submission, and then we got to present in semifinals virtually over the video platform. I think it was really fun to kind of see that all come together and get to actually stand on stage and like look out at the judges live and get to give that presentation and kind of feel that sense of accomplishment. So I think that was definitely my favorite part.
Perfect. Thank you, Jaiden. And trying to think who this one could be directed towards, but there was a question of should the solution with the supporting financials be pitched in the initial case submission, or are we just looking to scope out the problem and identifying the potential solution? Helen, do you want to try and give a go at that one?
just digesting the questions. So should the solution with the supporting financial be pitched in the initial case submission? Yes. So what we're looking for in the cost benefit analysis is really to be able to look at the financials and be able to sort of articulate what it is that what financing will be needed to deliver on your solution, but also as part of that to look at both the impact on people and on the environment. So to do a level of assessment alongside the financials, so that the CFO, or the judges in this case, can actually take a view on your proposed solution, taking into account not only the finances, but also the impact on people and the environment.
Perfect. And another one quickly for you, Helen. What should the goal of the case study be in terms of looking at the bigger picture?
So what we ask you to do essentially is to almost imagine that you are a consulting firm and you are pitching for a piece of work with the CFO. And what they've asked you to pitch is exactly the case challenge of the competition. They really want to understand about their transition. They want some support with a challenging area of their transition. And they want to make sure that they are taking into account the people element, and what they propose is going to be fair and just to stakeholders. So that really is the heart of everything. If you can almost picture yourself as a consulting firm and you are presenting your solution and coming up with the ideas to try and win this work with the CFO, that really is the kind of the heart of it. And then as you move through the competition, you'll get various aspects of feedback along the way, which allow you to refine your solution, so that when it comes to the final, those who get there will have the strongest solutions. But actually, ultimately, companies could take those ideas on board, and that's what we would love to happen. That's where we hope to have some real social and environmental impact through this competition.
And one for Patrick, just in terms of taking that to the next step, sort of what sort of qualities or strategies have you noticed that sort of sets teams apart as sort of top performing teams? And are there any sort of memorable moments that sort of stand out for you?
Yeah, I mean, the best part of being involved with competition is definitely the finals day. You just sort of get to see in person just the enthusiasm of the teams. You can kind of really see the teamwork in action on the day, and just it's incredibly encouraging to sort of see as one of the judges. I would say, the teams that really stuck out to me that sort of impressed me the most were you really genuinely felt like it was a team effort. Everyone was on board. Everyone had their part to present, and it was fairly seamless on the day. I would say second, it was a simple idea to understand, and you could fairly quickly see how it might actually happen in practice. And then lastly, I just think the passion of the presentation and the polish coming through as well. In this year's case, it's intended that the audience would be the CFO of the business that you've picked. And so that polish and presentation coming through on the day, the team effort, the simplicity of it, all tied together. That's what in past competitions have really stuck out to me in terms of the most successful teams. And I think it'll be very important in this year's competition as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Patrick. And just looking at Olga, over to you for just a quick recap on how many teams could reach the final and sort of any particular criteria for the competition entry.
Sure. So it's 5 to 8 teams will be taken forward to the finals. And in terms of criteria, again, refer you to the entry guide where you can find judging rubric. Please do follow those pointers, so it will help you to prepare for the entry as well as presentations, as this is what judges will be looking for. Again, entry guide has all the information. Please do read it.
Perfect. And Jaiden, one last question for you. Sort of looking back and obviously sharing your experience with others who are looking to maybe and are hopefully entering, what would you say was your main motivation to take part and participate in the case competition?
I think what really drew me to the case competition is just how unique it was from other case competitions I've done in the past. So I've competed in different consulting and financial case competitions. But the fact that this one combines like that financial aspect with that really primary focus of sustainability, to kind of let you feel like the solution you're pitching has a really meaningful impact to sustainability is really what drew me in. I wanted to feel like I was doing a competition that had that positive impact and kind of let me make a real difference to sustainability rather than maybe just looking at the financial side of things.
And over to Helen as well, in terms of being a judge, is there sort of for you, what makes things sort of stand out, and any sort of tips to share on what makes a good entry?
Yeah, thanks, Phil. I think sort of looking back over the last few years, I think there's probably three things that stand out for me in terms of what makes a good entry. So I'd say the first is around viability. And I think really making sure that the solution they propose is viable. So thinking about the regulatory environment, thinking about how it's funded, thinking about operational practicality, understanding the market in which you're operating in. So that's that first step all around viability. I think the second is around the assumptions and estimates that you include. So this is particularly, I'd say, in the cost benefit analysis, but also in the concept of what it is that you're proposing. You know, make sure that it's really clear what are the assumptions that you've made, and where you have included estimates, and what both those assumptions and estimates are based on, so that will help the judges understand where you're coming from, and it also supports the credibility of your response. So that's the second thing, assumptions and estimates. And then the third thing is really making sure that you do your research. I think Jaiden talked a little bit about this earlier, did a lot of research to understand the sector and their proposed solutions, and that really shines through in responses and in particularly in the presentation, but also in that initial entry period. So those would be my top three areas.
Perfect. Thanks, Helen. And final question for you, Patrick. Someone sort of, I don't know, you sort of spoke to this a little bit in our conversation earlier, but sort of could you sort of elaborate on how you think this competition can sort of benefit the individuals and the teams as they sort of expand their work experience to sort of progress their careers, or at least start their careers?
You know, I think it also provides an incredible sort of networking experience. I think, you know, first and foremost, you're going to obviously spend a fair bit of time with like-minded students, you know, at your school that, you know, care about the issue and are looking to tackle the case with you. So I think that's pretty significant. I also say that, you know, the finals does provide some significant sort of networking opportunities as well for those competing in the case. And I really think of it as, you know, the competition offers sort of something for everybody, you know, whether you're, say, a first or second year student, you know, just sort of starting out in university, or maybe you're an experienced MBA student as well, in terms of networking with like-minded students, but also getting to meet judges, semifinal judges, mentors, etc. So I think there's also a benefit from a networking perspective as well for people as they're starting to think about next steps after university, or maybe just starting.
Perfect. Thank you, Patrick. And Helen, one final question for you, just as more of a clarification point. Someone sort of raised the idea that where most firms are multi-jurisdictional, is there sort of any guidance or thoughts around how the pitch should potentially look at the solution in more general terms, or look at sort of a specific jurisdiction, or is it open to all?
Yeah, so I think that probably depends on the company that you choose, and where you choose to focus your solution. So the requirements are that you look at a particularly challenging area, or a specific area of the transition of decarbonisation for that company, and then looking at a potential solution or solutions. So it's really up to you whether you take it at that top corporate level, or whether you actually dig down into a particular jurisdiction because you think there's particularly more challenging operating environment, or legal environment, or whatever it may be. So I guess the simple answer is it's up to you in terms of how you frame your solution and what you ultimately propose.
Perfect. Thanks, Helen. And I think we have time for one final question. So I'm just sorry for those who we couldn't get to in time, and obviously we'll look to follow up with those as possible. I suppose it's just covering up two of them, if I can combine two of them. I suppose the general strategies that are outlined, I suppose the question is, are they being deemed to be implementable, and are they should they be considered something that the company could take away and implement immediately as a solution, as a sort of winning strategy?
Do you want me to take that one?
Sure, Helen. Yeah, thanks.
I mean, I think building on the sort of broadly similar question that we had before, I think it would be a fantastic outcome if a student team came up with a solution that a company can take away and build on in some way and implement in some way. But that's not the only positive outcome to this, and that's not the only reason we won the competition. But I think it would be a fantastic outcome if that were possible. I think what we try and do as part of the competition is, when we see these ideas come in and we understand, and you tell us which companies you're going to be basing your entries on, what we do is we choose to reach out to some of those companies and to get them involved in the competition if they're not already, to try and, I guess, increase the opportunity of that ultimate goal taking place. So I think it's a good opportunity from that perspective. And if you're really thinking at the strategic level and you're really thinking about, the ultimate outcome, then that's where we would hope to go. I hope that makes sense and answers the question.
Perfect. Thank you, Helen. And thank you, Jaiden and Patrick and Olga, for all your answers. And sorry we couldn't get to all your questions, but we'll try and reach out and sort of answer them as best we can later. I'll hand you back over for conclusions and wrap up.
Thank you, Phil. So I really want to conclude with a big thank you. Thank you to our guest speakers. Thank you to all of you who are interested in the case competition. Final reminder, the competition will open for entry submissions on Monday, 11th of November. In the meantime, register your interest via online form to keep up to date with the competition and receive additional resources. Also encourage you to join our LinkedIn group. As we speak, I've seen 17 people joined in, so that's great. So please do make introductions, build teams, and we really I hope to receive many of your interests. And again, a reminder, all the relevant information is available on our website in the entry guide. And if you have any questions, please do email us on a4sicc@a4s.org. So that will be all. Thank you very much. And we hope to receive your entries.